The Düren Wild Farmers are unlike any other team. Based in Düren, Germany, a town of just 1,272 people as of December 2023, it was one of 11 teams competing in Germany's Baseball Bundesliga last summer. The next smallest city represented in Bundesliga is Heidenheim, which has 50,000 people. All other cities have over 150,000, some over a million. I've always found it fascinating that a town so small could support a team in a semi-professional league and stay competitive going up against teams from Germany's largest cities. In a recent video, I received a comment about Düren. I was told that Düren is a baseball town, the one and only place in Germany where a soccer fan would be in the minority. After reading up on Düren and the Wild Farmers team, I could not confirm if that was true, but the numbers seemed to support it. In a town of 1,200 residents, the club boasts about 100 members, almost an even split between youth and adult. That's about 1 in 12 residents actively playing ball for this organization. How big is the town you live in? If you've got a population of 12,000, do you have 1,000 active ball players? Or a city of 120,000? Are 10,000 of those people currently members of a ball club? Probably not. When you've got that many players, it's going to take some money to support them, money that may be hard to come by in such a small town. But they average 300 spectators per game. May not sound like much, but that's equal to 1 out of every 4 residents in attendance. Of course, there will be some out-of-town fans and fans of the visiting team, but the number of spectators in relation to the town size is pretty amazing. Again, I've got to ask, how big is the town or city you live in? And if you've got a team, what's the average attendance? If your city's got 120,000 people, you might have a single A or independent league team. You would need an average attendance of 10,000 per game, possibly setting a new league record, to match the support that the Wild Farmers get. If your city's got 1.2 million, then your MLB team would need to average 100,000 per game, which is probably around triple what your team is getting now. Seriously though, comment your city's size and team's attendance figures. It'll be interesting to know. The players for the Bundesliga Wild Farmers team mostly come from Düren, or nearby there. They've known each other all their lives and grew up playing ball together. There are some paid foreign players, that's why I say it's semi-professional, and they do charge admission at games. Couldn't find the cost for attending a Wild Farmers game, but Bundesliga teams usually charge between 6 and 10 euros. So the Bundesliga is on a higher level than most European leagues. Major League hitter Max Kepler started his career there. In 2023, the top player was Japanese pitcher Yasutomo Kubo, a guy who racked up nearly 100 wins during his NPB career. Former minor league players play over there, and sometimes players get back into the MLB system after an outstanding season in the Bundesliga. So it's not like your local amateur league. They've got professional level players, making it all the more incredible what the Düren Wild Farmers have been able to do. So how did it all begin? How did a little German town become such a big baseball town? Did they one day just decide to start playing baseball? Well, yeah, sort of. The story begins in 1990 when a group of mostly young farmers came up with the idea after seeing the movie Major League at a theater in Hamburg. They would drive their tractors to the field where they trained and used wooden bats and motorcycle helmets. The name was chosen because the letters WL seen on local license plates is popularly known as Wild Farmers. A year later, in 1991, they were organized enough to start playing in the lower leagues of German baseball. After a successful first season, a youth team and a softball team were formed. The big team was soon promoted to the 4th-tier league and spent the 90s getting promoted, relegated, promoted again, eventually reaching the 2nd Bundesliga in 2004. After a few near misses in the following 5 years, they made it to the top level of Bundesliga in 2009, after a 2nd-place finish in the 2nd Bundesliga. In that same year, the under-18 Wild Farmers team won the national championship. So this organization, now 19 years old by this time, had transformed from a group of movie-inspired farmers in motorcycle helmets to a nationwide sporting success in the span of one generation. In their first few years in the 1st Bundesliga, they managed to avoid relegation, but in 2014 they could no longer avoid it. They spent the next 2 years in the 2nd Bundesliga, but in 2017 were right back up at the top level. Up until this time they'd been averaging 50 to 100 fans per game, but in 2017, upon their return to the 1st Bundesliga, they began a push to lure in more fans, lots of themed days at the ballpark, and for the first time saw their average attendance surpass 300. This increase seemed to have a positive effect on the players, as the team finished 2nd in the Bundesliga North and made the playoffs for the first time. They were swept in 3 games, but still, making the playoffs was a big accomplishment. In 2018, they were 4th out of 8 teams in the North, with a record of 17 and 11. but again made an early exit. 2019, same record, same place in the standings, another 3-game sweep in the playoffs. In 2020, a short season due to the pandemic. 8 wins, 6 losses, another 4th place finish, but no playoffs this time. In the 2020 season, only 2 teams made the playoffs. 2021, another weird year, only 12 games played. 7-5, tied for 3rd, another early playoff exit, swept in 2 games. 2022, 4th place once again, swept in the opening round of the playoffs once again. But this time their win-loss record suffered. They were 9-15. 2023, another losing record, another 4th place finish. But a big breakthrough in the playoffs. They did not get swept. They went a full 5 games with top-seeded Heidenheim before bowing out with a 3-2 series loss. Heidenheim went on to win their next 2 playoff series in 4 games and won the league title. But then came 2024. By this time, the Bundesliga North was reduced to just 5 teams, as Baseball Bundesliga became a leaner, more competitive league. Düren picked a bad time to have a bad year. 3 wins, 21 losses, bottom of the Bundesliga North. They were not set for relegation, but the team agreed on a voluntary self-demotion. In 2025, they will play in the second Bundesliga. The reason is they want to focus on developing homegrown talent, to make themselves competitive once again. If they wanted to compete for a playoff spot in First Bundesliga in 2025, they would need a team almost entirely made up of foreign players. And they're not interested in that. They wouldn't be the Wild Farmers anymore. So the demotion is necessary. Why did the team fall so fast, from the playoffs to the cellar, so badly that they felt a self-demotion was necessary? The stated reason is they just don't have the local talent to remain competitive at this time. According to one article, the nearby Hamburg Steelers have been luring away some of their players. Not sure if that's true or not, but it would make a lot of sense. If a small-town team loses even just a few players over the years, it could be really hard to replace them. But given the team's history of bouncing back and exceeding expectations, I don't expect them to remain in the second Bundesliga for very long. Their ball field is called Ballpark DC, located just outside of Düren. So this is a team that's true to its name. Founded by a bunch of farmers, playing field is actually located in farm country. The club's 100 players are spread out among 8 teams, men's first, second, and third league teams, under 18, under 15, under 12, T-ball, and women's softball. Though with this self-demotion it'll be reduced to 7 teams. The first and second league teams will be merged into 1 team, competing in the second league. In addition to their under 18 national title in 2010, the women's softball team captured the title for the Lower Saxony region back in 2012. Last January, one Wild Farmer, then 17-year-old Paul Hoff, signed a professional contract with the Milwaukee Brewers. And that's all I've got. A very interesting team this is. Really hope they get back to being a competitive First Bundesliga team once again. If you liked this video, of course give it a like, leave a comment as well. And if you know of any more teams with interesting stories like this, let me know in the comments. This is my first time making a video about one specific team, and I'd like to do more in the new year. You can also find me on X and DM me any information you've got over there. Anyway, that's all for this one. Until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya!